Survivor Series War Games hit on all levels, in my opinion, especially the closing shot with Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn, CM Punk, the Tribal Chief, the Wise Man, and the main event Jey Uso, who got the last entrance of the night, which to me is telling that Jey Uso even got an entrance over Roman Reigns, and obviously he started the match, and all of Vancouver was yeeting up and down. But that shot capped off, in my opinion, what was a beautiful night in professional wrestling. So let's start with a match that I've seen a lot of people say was sloppy. They say it was the worst women's war games match in history. Obviously, I did feel like a couple of the slots were sloppy. But I did not think it was the worst women's war games match in history by any means. I thought it was a very good match. Starting off with Bailey, I thought was definitely a possibility, but I was shocked at the fact that Nia Jax began the night for her team inside that women's War Games cage, obviously renewing that rivalry from SummerSlam. And I think what we saw here at Survivor Series, if you think about it, if you go by the big four principles that WWE used to say, and I guess still technically is, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, a lot of these, interactions and matches on this card was a direct correlation to what happened at SummerSlam. Damian Priest got through a rematch for the World Heavyweight Championship. Roman Reigns returning at SummerSlam is what kicked off this sort of feud that led to this War Games match with the new bloodline, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, that old storyline, Bayley, Naomi, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, everything there with the woman's Money in the Bank briefcase, coinciding in the women's War Games match. Um, but as I mentioned, Bayley and Nia Jax started off. Then out came Naomi, who introduced a new weapon to WWE, aka a toilet seat, which was a very interesting choice of weapon. After that, you had Candice LeRae sort of interrupting Tiffany Stratton, which I thought was a nice touch. Tiffany Stratton obviously went to go help her friend Nia Jax. Candice LeRae intervened. After that, then it was time for the EST, Bianca Belair, to make her appearance. Then in came Tiffy time, and you had a moment where it was sort of Nia, Tiffy, Candice LeRae taking over. Io Sky would enter, of course, climbing up on the top of the cage with that garbage can to do the eventual incredible spot with Ern and Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton obviously on one side of the cage, Io Sky on another side of the cage, doing those dives. That, of course, led to Raquel Rodriguez, and I thought they booked it really well to the point where Rhea Ripley, was entering that cage. Rhea Ripley entered to Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Raquel Rodriguez, Candice LeRae, all standing tall. Rhea Ripley would take her time, grabbing a weapon, getting into the ring, and of course, then finally, Rhea Ripley would do her destruction until Liv Morgan would be released from the cage. Liv Morgan would bring a baseball bat, of course, continuing to destroy the ribs of Rhea Ripley. But the storyline here was the match all changed when Io Sky decided to use a fire extinguisher, which allowed Rhea Ripley then, after a distracted Raquel Rodriguez, to handcuff her to the ropes. And even after, it looked like Team Rhea was down. Liv Morgan would hit an incredible move on Bayley, a nice codebreaker like maneuver. Rhea Ripley would grab Liv Morgan off the cover, and with Raquel Rodriguez handcuffed, with Nia Jax taken out from a power bomb by Bayley and Naomi, it left Liv Morgan all alone for a riptide from the top rope. Rhea Ripley pins her arch rival, which will get her presumably another Women's World Championship match down the road after this Liv Morgan Io Sky rivalry concludes, whenever that may be. And again, Mami gets her revenge on Liv Morgan from SummerSlam. As I said, I thought the baby faces would win this match. I thought either Io Sky or Rhea Ripley would pin Liv Morgan. I thought that would make the most sense. They did ease Tiffany Stratton cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase at one point, which is when again Io Sky would use that fire extinguisher to disrupt everything. When Raquel Rodriguez was trying to stop Tiffany Stratton, at one point Liv Morgan, Nia Jax were both down in the center of the ring. Tiffany Stratton would grab her woman's Money in the Bank briefcase out of a garbage can with them both laying there, which I thought was a cool spot. I think WWE has sort of delayed this cash in order with Tiffany Stratton. I have been predicting it for the last three PLEs because I want to see it be involved in the middle of a match where Tiffy just turns on Nia Jax, and I was a little bit concerned when Stratton did not come out with the woman's Money in the Bank briefcase. I thought it was a nice touch that she hid it inside of a garbage can. And obviously that babyface pop for Tiffany Stratton when it does occur will be very interesting to see that full babyface turn for Tiffy time of WWE. I do expect it to be on Nia Jax. To be honest with you, I hope it's by the end of the year because I think Tiffany Stratton should enter WrestleMania 41 as the WWE Women's Champion. Let's get to the most shocking result of the night, arguably. Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, this I did not expect. I thought they would have a good match. I thought LA Knight would hit a BFT. I did not expect Shinsuke Nakamura, who made his return to WWE, after 6, 7 months being off just a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, all of a sudden randomly attacking LA Knight, and in his first match back since April, one getting shots out of the back of the head, and Shinsuke Nakamura is the United States champion. And LA Knight, who I thought had a very successful championship reign after defeating Logan Paul for the U.S. title at SummerSlam in Cleveland, really elevated the likes of Carmelo Hayes and Andrade and even Santos Escobar in that mid-card United States Championship division. Now, all of a sudden, Shinsuke Nakamura gets the strap. We'll see what he does with it. The story of this match was really from the night before. LA Knight was blindsided by the mist of Shinsuke Nakamura. He even dropped his belt on the way to the ring. I think LA Knight is still obviously one of the most popular wrestlers in WWE. He's still getting the loud, yeah, crowd reactions, but you just gotta wonder now, with LA Knight, where does he go from here as as the former, I should say, United States champion? Because that kind of really feels like his spot. I've said this really in WWE for a long time. It's unfortunate the Bloodline story is so great and so wrapped up, and obviously Gunther being the world champion on Monday Night Raw, that when you add these dominating figures and Cody Rhodes, the undisputed champion, unless you get a heel turn like a Kevin Owens in there, which that match at Saturday night's main event we'll preview in a couple weeks is going to be fantastic. There's not a lot of room right now at the top of the card. So even guys like CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre, for instance, if you're not involved in the Gunther storyline or the Bloodline story over on the Blue brand, you're really stuck in the middle. And even though LA Knight does feel like an upper mid carder, I don't see a lot of room for him to grow unless there's a heel turn, and I don't think it's warranted yet. We've seen signs of it, but I think he'd be more of a tweener than a complete heel. I think LA Knight, to be honest with you, could cut a promo and work with anybody, face or heel side, but I don't think it's worth making him a full-on heel because of the popular reactions that he brings. He is still one of the most over superstars in WWE. I just wonder now where he goes and what his next challenge is, where he goes from up and on. Because I thought he would get more of a U.S. Championship run than 3 months. The SmackDown babyface side of the mid card is not particularly stacked. We saw that was a problem with Logan Paul as the United States champion. To me, that was one of the reasons why he did not defend the championship as often. I think he only had three championship defenses in his, nearly year-long, 9-month reign as champion. So that could be something. Interesting to see what goes on here with Shinsuke Nakamura and this new gimmick that he has. He is more evil and sinister than ever. Okay, you knew this would be an absolute banger with Sheamus involved. Sheamus Ludwig Kaiser, and then obviously Braun Breaker, the champion for the Intercontinental Championship. All three of these men just came at each other hard for the jump. The match really did change when Sheamus would hit Braun Breaker with a brogue kick, and Braun Breaker was down. And after taking all this punishment, Sheamus had the Intercontinental Championship won, but Ludwig Kaiser would pull the official out of the ring. Then obviously there was a moment where Sheamus would hit Ludwig Kaiser with a big ass knee, but Braun Breaker would jump over, spear Ludwig Kaiser, take him out, followed by another spear to Sheamus. Braun Breaker, the unpredictable badass, who I think is the future WWE. I think he's a future world champion. He's a guy that I said if Roman Reigns would have retained the world championship against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40, I thought Braun Breaker could have been a perfect option to take the championship off of the head of the table. That's how high I was on Braun Breaker. Sheamus was beat to L by all the showy shots that Ludwig Kaiser just constantly beat him down on. Very fun mid card match in the Intercontinental Championship division. An absolute banger, fast pace from start to finish. Those spears by Braun Breaker were absolutely wicked. And again, I said going into it, there was a possibility that Sheamus could have won the Intercontinental Championship if he would have pinned Ludwig Kaiser, take the title off Braun Breaker without him having to be defeated. I thought Ludwig Kaiser, who this was his first PLE championship opportunity, um, I thought that, he was there to take the fall. Obviously, he was not. Sheamus, the veteran, took the fall. I think Ludwig Kaiser is starting to get a little more of a push, starting to get a little more of a run on his own without the Ring General by his side. Fantastic match by all three individuals, and I'm not even sure yet if this is the end of the Sheamus Ludwig Kaiser chapter in their feud. Okay, Gunther and Damian Priest had another very solid World Championship match. The ending was obviously almost very similar to SummerSlam, where Damian Priest was on the outside, and this occurred after a top rope fall after Gunther was working on the arm of Priest the entire matchup. And it's what I've said. What I love about the Ring General is you never know how he's going to defeat an opponent, and you never know what body part or where he's going to attack an opponent. Every match is a mystery. Gunther has 5 to 7 ways to beat you. It's what I love about him as world champion. We know going into this match, the storyline was about, Gunther seemingly losing his confidence as champion. Once he lost to Cody Rhodes in the Crown Jewel Championship match at Crown Jewel. He wanted to take the power base out of Damian Priest, wanted to take away the South of Evan chokeslam and the big moves that Damian Priest uses with that arm. To the extent he did, he even put a Kimura lock, obviously Brock Lesnar's old armbar, on Damian Priest. It was just a very technical wrestling match where it was roll throughs and counters. Priest very on hit Gunther with an arm drag. It was a very technical match, down to the finish, which, as I already mentioned, very similar to SummerSlam, where with Damian Priest down on the outside, with the referee checking in on Gunther, who, again, also had his arm targeted. Finn Balor would stomp Damian Priest, come down to the ring. Now, Gunther did not like that. Gunther ended up taking out Finn Balor, which again, could that be a feud moving forward? Gunther, Finn Balor for the World Championship. Damian Priest costing Finn Balor the championship. I could see that, especially when the Judgment Day attacked Priest post show in the parking lot. I said, I think as long as Rhea Ripley's fighting Liv Morgan, Damian Priest going to be fighting Finn Balor. I think both those feuds culminate at WrestleMania 41 this year. But the interesting thing is, obviously, after Finn Balor gave Damian Priest the stomp, Gunther would hit one more powerbomb on Priest. Priest had already kicked out of a powerbomb once before in the matchup, but one more powerbomb, followed by a sleeper hold. And just like at SummerSlam, Damian Priest did not tap out. He passed out. And the story here is once again Finn Balor costing his former Judgment Day stablemate, his former undisputed tag team champion together the world title. So Gunther wins. Again, he's moving on. I think Gunther's going to probably be world champion to at least WrestleMania 41. Priest and Balor battle. But man, Priest and Gunther, these are two guys that came up on the WWE roster. Damian Priest in 2021, Gunther, 2022. These are two guys that were in NXT together. And these two guys, every time they're in the ring together, they look like warriors. They look like the future of WWE to me. So I already alluded to the start of the War Games match with Jey Uso taking on Amatunga, the incredible reaction that the Yeet Man got to that entrance, got the wildest pop of the night, maybe by far, along with obviously Roman Reigns and Rhea Ripley in terms of entrances. The story of this match, really was obviously the friction between Roman Reigns and CM Punk. And we saw that, after Jimmy Uso entered, and then, by the way, Brunson Reed entered for the Bloodline. And then after that, Solo Sikoa summoned Jacob Fatu. So at this point, it was 3-on-2. It was Jay and Jimmy Uso against Jacob Fatu, Tonga, Tommy Tonga, and Brunson Reed, and they were dominating the Usos. And it was time for the third member of the OG Bloodline to enter to even the odds. Remember, Jacob Fatu defeated Jey Uso on the SmackDown the night before to gain the men's War Games advantage. And at that point, CM Punk went to go out. Roman Reigns stopped him. In comes Sami Zayn. So then after that, obviously, Tungaloa come down to the ring. And at this point, when it's 4-on-3 and it's time for Roman Reigns to enter because Roman Reigns does not trust CM Punk. We know that was the entire storyline going into War Games. CM Punk intercepts Roman Reigns this time, makes his way to the ring, uses a steel chair to get down into that ring. And so with all that in mind, we get to the point where Roman Reigns has to enter the match. And at this point, the Bloodline has taken out CM Punk. So Sikoa is already in there, along with Jacob Fatu, who has looked like a complete werewolf. CM Punk using a toolbox even to take him out, and Jacob Fatu no-sold that. You have CM Punk down, you have Jey Uso down, you have Jimmy Uso down, you have Sami Zayn down. The steel cage is locked, and Roman Reigns is to climb over the top of the cage to get into the War Game structure. At that point, Paul Heyman comes down and he is begging for Roman Reigns and CM Punk the way that he talked to him the night before in that sit down interview on SmackDown to just get along for one night. At this point, there's still a little bit of tension. Roman Reigns will not help CM Punk up when he helps up Jey Uso, he helps up Jimmy Uso, he helps up Sami Zayn. The match turns when Brunson Reed goes for the gigantic tsunami that we all knew was obviously going to happen from the top of the cage. Roman Reigns laid out on a table, but CM Punk helps Roman Reigns up. Roman Reigns at that point obviously realizes he can trust the Second City, saying, you have then a moment where Jacob Fatu is completely down after missing a moonsault to CM Punk. Tonga was down. Tommy Tonga is down. Brunson Reed is taken out from that missed tsunami. And Solo Sikoa is all alone to get a super kick from Jay, a super kick from Jimmy, the double Uso super kick, a haluva kick, a go to sleep, and a spear. And the OG Bloodline stand together and they hug Paul Heyman on their way out of the steel cage. Everybody did so except for Roman Reigns, which to me is a story in itself. Along with that, you have CM Punk telling Paul Heyman that when the time comes, he still needs that favor. Whether that favor is for CM Punk to win the Royal Rumble, whether that favor is for CM Punk to main event WrestleMania when it is Roman Reigns' spot, whatever it may be, we may be headed for a Roman Reigns versus CM Punk for the Wise Man Services at Elimination Chamber. that sort of feels like it is to me. I think obviously, as I've talked about, I think The Rock is going to get involved here. Maybe we have The Rock, Cody Roman, triple threat at WrestleMania. I don't know. I thought The Rock would appear on this show and help the new Bloodline and reveal himself as the new member of the new Bloodline. I thought there was a chance Paul Heyman could turn on Roman Reigns and CM Punk in this match. He did not. And in a weird instance here, both babyface teams in WWE win the War Games encounter. And for one of the first times since Roman Reigns has returned, I think this was his first win, outside of obviously him and Cody Rhodes winning at Bad Blood since he's returned at SummerSlam. The OG Bloodline stand tall. Whether this OG Bloodline, new Bloodline feud continues right after Survivor Series, I don't know. I hope they take a little bit of a break from each other. I think obviously CM Punk and Bronson Reed were sort of one offs. As I speculated, I think it could lead to CM Punk and Seth Rollins getting into it, and that's how we get to the WrestleMania encounter because CM Punk intervened in Seth Rollins' business with Bronson Reed. But as I said going into this event, the biggest story out of the match, it wasn't even the match. It was, not only did Jacob Fatu look like $1 million, that guy's going to be a future star in WWE. Not only that, but what will play out with CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman? Will there be a heel turn? What stories will come out of it? Where does The Rock reside in all this? And even where does the undisputed champion, Cody Rhodes, reside in all this, depending on what happens at Saturday night's main event? Against Kevin Owens on Long Island in 2 weeks. So I thoroughly enjoyed this PLE. I'll give it an A minus. I did not think we had a bad match. Again, the only booking decision I did not love, I would have gave this PLE an A, but I did not love the decision to take the championship off of LA Knight because I don't know the direction we go from here. But I thoroughly enjoyed all the matches on this card. This was a thoroughly entertaining PLE from start to finish. One of the best Survivor Series in the past few years. I do have a little bit of an issue. I love War Games. I think when the match starts, it's very intense, and obviously the men's War Games match was very storyline driven. I just think, maybe we reduce the 3 minute intervals in between people entering the ring because you got to wait 30 minutes until someone can decide a fall. Sometimes it just feels like the wrestlers are a little lost in there. They don't know what they're doing, or they're just trying to beat somebody up. Maybe it's 2 minutes. I think just cutting down that time a little bit on the intervals between the advantage, because really the advantage does not mean much when you're talking about a fall that cannot occur until all 10 superstars are in the ring. That's my thought on the entire match process as a whole. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.